you and the leadership, especially Congresswoman Cheney, do you believe President Trump should be speaking, or former President Trump should be speaking at CPAC this weekend?
Yes, he should.
Congresswoman Cheney?
That's up to CPAC. I've been clear in my views about President Trump and the extent to which following January 6th, I don't believe that he should be playing a role in the future of the party or the country.
On that high note, thank you all very much.
The fact that Kevin McCarthy and the rest of the Republican leadership, aside from Liz Cheney, is still so deathly afraid of Trump is a testament to how spineless these people are. I don't know who needs to hear this, but Trump isn't some political genius. He's not a kingmaker, he has no power. He is a one-term president who lost by 7 million votes and an electoral college margin that he himself called a landslide when he beat Hillary Clinton by that same margin in 2016. He lost 5 states that he'd won in the previous cycle, including Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. He never broke 50% approval during his entire tenure as president, and he ran behind nearly every single Republican on the ballot. He's not some ace in the hole, he is an albatross around their necks. And yet the fact that their only priority is still to display their fealty to him goes to show just how much of a cult of personality the GOP has become. Now, for what it's worth, I don't care who speaks at CPAC, and the fact that CPAC speakers this year are a who's who of people who supported subverting a free and fair election, like Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Andy Biggs, Lauren Boebert, and Matt Gaetz, goes to show that this isn't a group worth taking seriously, it is a Donald Trump fan club. It's a race to the bottom, and so knowing that, Donald Trump probably should be speaking at CPAC. If this conference is supposed to highlight the leaders on the right, and they're intent on giving that distinction to a guy who just had one of the worst showings in an election in modern US history, by all means. And by the way, the theme of CPAC this year is America Uncanceled, which is funny for 2 reasons. One, it goes to show that the GOP continues to be incapable of standing for anything other than these Fox News culture war issues like censorship and cancellation, as if the family of 4 in Texas struggling to get on their feet is worried about being censored. But because the GOP only traffics in victimhood and always has, this is the issue that they've landed on. And so in the middle of a pandemic, a jobs crisis, and an economic recession, the Republican Party wants you to know that they're singularly focused on the issue of censorship. How's that for priorities? But the other reason that this is funny is that CPAC, which again set its theme as America Uncanceled, tweeted this: "We have just learned that someone we invited to CPAC has expressed reprehensible views that have no home with our conference or our organization. The individual will not be participating in our conference." Now, aside from the fact that this could have been quite literally any of their attendees, could someone remind me what it's called when a person had an invitation to speak and then, because the host didn't approve of certain language, that invitation was revoked? Because it's right there on the tip of my tongue, but I can't quite seem to remember it. And look, none of this is to lionize Liz Cheney, because it was her and her Republican colleagues' relentless pandering and groveling to Trump in the first place that left him so emboldened to launch his relentless attacks against this country. She voted with Trump a staggering 93% of the time in the last 2 years and 96% of the time in the congressional term prior to that. So 2 things can be true. 1, she showed courage in standing up for what was right with her vote to impeach Donald Trump and her continued opposition to him, especially while the overwhelming majority of her caucus was and continues to be too cowardly to speak out. But at the same time, it is a sad testament to the Republican Party that it's even considered courageous to be able to speak out against a president who refused to abide by the peaceful transition of power, who incited an insurrection against the very government he was in charge of defending. That is perhaps the single most un-American action a US president could take, and yet only 5% of Republicans could manage to acknowledge that? And that's supposed to be the party of patriots and the Constitution? Give me a break. So at the end of the day, if just about all of the Republican Party wants to make their entire platform that they continue to support the guy who couldn't manage to win re-election for the first time since George H.W. Bush 3 decades ago, then that's their prerogative. But they're just broadcasting the fact that they're not willing to work for Americans, they're only willing to work for their failed candidate, Donald Trump. While you're here, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. I take a deep dive into the top stories of the week, and I also interview major players in the world of politics, like Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Pete Buttigieg, Katie Porter, Al Franken, Cory Booker, Jamie Harrison, Mary Trump, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.